Yeah, it is an episode of the Autumn Windbags. RJ Clifford, let's have some fun today. Welcome this morning. It's supposed to be a happy day. The daughter turned 5. We decorated everything, got her presents. Open up the phone, and I get the news. Davante Adams has been disgruntled, unhappy with what's going on in Las Vegas. He didn't want to be on a franchise that wasn't going anywhere, that was just 2-4, that has a history of disorganization. And so he went to the Jets, who are also 2-4, not going anywhere, and a history of being complete fuck ups. At least you don't have to pretend to like Taco Bell anymore. Davante Adams is gone. We are getting a conditional third round pick. It can be a second round pick if Davante Adams was a first or second team All Pro, or if the Jets go to the Super Bowl or AFC Championship game and Davante is an active player. So we are definitely getting just a third round pick. I like to be like rooting for Davante to do well so we can be a Pro Bowl or we can get a second rounder, but that ain't happening. No way. No way, no how. Jets are not going to the AFC Championship game. And unless Aaron Rodgers just does the full like Derek Carr and just throws the ball to Davante 20 times a game, he ain't being a Pro Bowler either. He's already missed 3 games. It ain't happening. So after we traded a first and second for Davante Adams 3 seasons ago, made him the highest paid wide receiver in football. We get a third round pick, no playoff appearances, and a bunch of money out the window. Havoc Raider, thank you so much for the super chat. Davante went from 2-4 with Getsy to 2-4 with Hackett. Yeah. Nathaniel Hackett was able to have his star rise because he had Aaron Rodgers as quarterback and Davante Adams as wide receiver. That's the only reason. He's already had play calling abilities taken away from the Jets. He's had his head coach has now been fired. His like star that he hitched his wagon to, Aaron Rodgers, is having the worst season of his career. I laughed. I was so happy when he went to be the head coach of the Broncos, Nathaniel Hackett. He's in over his head with just the smaller roles that he's having. But he like makes funny jokes that Aaron Rodgers likes. I don't know. Just the kind of yes man that Aaron Rodgers wants in his life. I guess that's one way to succeed. That's one way to keep a job in the National Football League. Bunch of things to get to here. Just the terrible use of allocation. Let's start with our team first. I mean, look, Davante Adams obviously made whoever was quarterback better. He was a big reason why we were able to upset the Ravens in the second game of the season. He's clearly good. He's clearly still like at least 90% of the Davante Adams that we all know and love, like of his prime. So it's obviously going to hurt losing him. Wish we got more than a third for him. But he was never he's not going to be part of the long-term plans, right? He has no more guaranteed money left on his contract. Next season and following, it's like $40 million average, which the Raiders are not paying. He would have had to have been, we have to redo the contract anyway. Build some kind of extension. So he was there as like, all right, let's hit this window. Derek Carr, Rich Bisaccia, the Raiders, Josh Jacobs, that crew made it to the playoffs. Bisaccia just loved the team into the playoffs, willed the team into the playoffs. Josh Jacobs played completely lights out, got to the playoffs. And they're like, okay, let's make a run here. Let's see what we can do. And I'm hearing a lot of people bag on the Davante Adams original trade, the original trade to get him to the Raiders, a first round and a second round and a lot of money. And they always use this line that I fucking despise. They're not one player away from winning the Super Bowl. Why'd you go out and spend all these resources on one player when you're not one player away from winning the Super Bowl? It's like you don't sign 17 players at a time. You sign them one at a time. Davante Adams wanted to be there. We had the resources to get him here. We got him here. And he was great here that first year with Carr. It's not that and the Raiders have a long history. Bad trades, bad allocation of resources. The Davante Adams trade wasn't one of them. It wasn't one of them. He was a first-team All-Pro. He had one of the best seasons of his career. The trade wasn't bad. Josh McDaniels was bad. The stank of Josh McDaniels is what ruined all of this. Not the trade of Davante Adams. Not the first and second rounder we gave up for Davante. We weren't in cap trouble. We could have afforded him. The trade was fine. But he lost value because he got, 2.5 years older. Hamstring injury, right? He's getting his physical maybe as we speak right now. Davante Adams took a plane ride, took a red eye from Vegas to New Jersey, and he's maybe right this second getting his physical. He may even play Sunday. I think they have a Sunday night game, the Jets. So the Davante Adams experiment didn't work out, but it wasn't because of the trade. It wasn't because of the move to get him here. It was because of Josh McDaniels. That's why. We had Josh McDaniel. This is just yet of all the different ways Josh McDaniels has destroyed this team. Here's example 847. Right? Drove Derek Carr to town. Jared Stidham, he drove him out of town. I would have loved to see what he had under the hood. He played pretty good in those 2 games to end that last season he had with the Raiders. Drove him out of town. Brought in Jimmy Garoppolo, which clearly a mistake. Poisoned the entire locker room. Made Hunter Renfrow disappear. And now we're here. Now Davante Adams has been devalued and we're getting a 3rd round pick for him. And at this point, it had to be done, right? I've never been a fan of the Raiders' philosophy of if you don't want to be here, then you can leave. Just like an open door policy. But instead of an open door policy like a boss has to let you in, he has an open door policy to let people out. Like the open door is in the front door. The open door is the back door. You can leave whenever you want. I never liked that. Like there's certainly like disgruntled players that are more trouble than they're worth, or guys who you want to trade, or guys are going to poison the locker room and make everything worse. Like, okay, yeah, like sometimes you got to get rid of guys. But we see the Niners every couple years, there's a disgruntled player, doesn't want to be there, asking for a trade, and they say no, and they work it out. You don't get better by letting good players walk out the door. I know, great analysis, Clifford, but it's true. Oh, you don't want to be like this. The second someone says they want to leave, you let them leave. There's a reason why breakups and divorces are complicated and take forever. It's so cooler heads can prevail. Like your girlfriend burns the roast one time, you want to leave? No, you work it out. You figure it out. The thing I hate the most about this trade is, for some unknown reason, Mark Davis refused to pay down any of Davante Adams' salary. We have insane amount of cap space. We've spent the least amount of cash this season than any other team in football. 32 NFL teams, the Raiders have paid less cash than anyone else. We have tons of cap space. We'll have mountains of cap space next season. Mark Davis is the lush with the most expensive ticket in football to get into Allegiant Stadium through, not because of how the Raiders are playing, but because of a loyal fan base and it's a destination location. And so this idea that they're like, all right, we're not going to pay down any of Davante Adams' salary to try to get some more draft capital, it makes no sense. Like, we need players. We need young players. We need draft picks. Not an extra $11 million. What are we going to do with that this season? Look, here's the salary cap. Here's the cash spent. All right. NFL team salary cash tracker. Just total cash spent. Not dead money, not cap. Just cash spent. Cleveland. Oh, these poor bastards. Thanks to Sean Watson. All the way down to the bottom. Least amount of cash spent. Las Vegas Raiders, $211 million. That's it. We've got cash. Spending an extra $10 or $11 million to try to get a 3rd round pick into a 2nd round pick, or a 2nd round pick into a 2nd and a 4th, Like, hey, let's pay down your entire salary for the season, Jets. Give us your second and your fourth. That's a no-brainer. That is a no-brainer. We got to load up on draft picks. We don't need an extra $11 million. That does nothing for us. We're under the cap as it is. We're going to have like $100 million in cap space next season. We don't need an extra $11 million. We need picks. We need bullets in the gun to shoot at the draft. A lot of things have gone wrong this season. Our draft is looking pretty damn good. It's looking pretty damn good. DJ Glaze came out of nowhere. Probably be a starter. Obviously, Brock Bowers is the future. Like, we did a pretty good job drafting. Not bad. At least so far, right? We're only 6 games into the season, but the draft's pretty good. Let's get some picks. Let's do some stuff. Let's make some moves. Let's get some bodies. But instead, no, I really need that extra an extra $11 million, Mark Davis. Yeah. Those haircuts get real expensive, I'm sure. Bill Williamson made this pick, posted this. From 2019 to 2022, Raiders had 7 first-round picks. None of the assets from those picks remain on the roster. But that's the old regimes, right? The old regimes were terrible at drafting and asset management. Tom Telesco, so far so good. So far so good. I was blown away from the Brock Bowers pick. Obviously, it was the right move. I think we would have been happy with Christian Gonzalez, too. I think I would have been like, I think if we drafted Christian Gonzalez, we wouldn't be sad. But he went best player available, despite the fact that he just drafted a second-round tight end the season before. Michael Mayer's now God knows where, worried about God knows what. But Brock Bowers worked out. Like, can't we get some picks? That'd be nice. I don't know what's going to happen. Like, Davante Adams and this move to the Jets, like, it's not even the Jets' problem. Like wide receiver is their deepest position. Garrett Wilson, Alan Lazar, like Mike Williams isn't playing well, but like you got quality wide receivers all over the place in New York. And you're like, oh man, we had 110 yards in penalties, a bunch of turnovers. Josh Allen like threw all over us. But you know what? We need to fix that. Another wide receiver. I mean, thank God for other disorganized franchises because then we can get stuff out of them, right? Like the Raiders, look, Mark Davis is a bad owner by every conceivable metric other than making money, right? Other than making money, he's clearly been a bad owner. Bunch of different coaches, not willing to spend money. Could have spent money and got draft picks instead. No, he's like, I want to just sit on my $11 million. Clearly a bad owner. Luckily, there's other bad owners and bad organizations that we can kind of take advantage of. Now, we took advantage of the Jets. Conditional third rounder was nothing wild. Good luck fixing this shit, Tom Brady. Good luck. Yeah, Tom Brady's going to have his hand full. I still don't know if it's just going to be like a symbolic position. Like he's going to be a part owner. Mark Davis is still majority owner, still supersedes him in every way, legally and decision-making wise. But if Tom Brady's going to have his hands full with just life, right? Like he's broadcaster for Fox, a bunch of other side businesses, side hustles. Like, does he really want to tackle fixing the Raiders? Does he want to like, can you imagine Tom Brady sitting down with like spreadsheets, grinding scouting tape, like interviewing assistant general GMs and stuff like that? Like, I don't know. I will say this though, and I said it on the show last week. If Tom Brady wants to run the Raiders, if Tom Brady wants to be the decision maker, he will be. Mark Davis is an absolute star fucker. Like he'll do what Tom Brady, and we know this because Mark Davis was going to give Tom Brady such a steep discount to buy a piece of the Raiders. The NFL owners literally had to veto it. The number was so low that other NFL owners who don't own the Raiders were like, Mark Davis, you're a moron. You can't sell a chunk of your franchise for this low. It'll devalue the rest of us. You're insane. Charge him more. Like Mark Davis was going to give Tom Brady, like an NFL franchise. You realize the value of an NFL franchise? There are multi-billionaires the world over that would kill for one of those 32 franchises. And a lot of them just can't get it. They're not available. They're not for sale. Certain owners are going to be vetoed, not allowed. They're super valuable. And Mark Davis is just kind of like, oh, yeah, like you bought me PF Chang's, Tom Brady? Here, you can have 10% on a discount. It's crazy. So Tom Brady's going to be able to do whatever he wants. And I don't mean like he will like officially take over the Raiders, but he will symbolically take over the Raiders. Like you all see it at every job, right? Like, yeah, there's a boss, but the boss will have like a favorite, and that person's essentially in charge. Because if you tell him to do something, you complain to the boss, and then you get what you want, right? It's like politics, right? Like you're telling me Joe Biden's geriatric ass is running this country? No, someone else is doing it. He's the president, but someone else is doing it. That would be Tom Brady, right? Mark Davis would be Joe Biden. Tom Brady would be Joe Biden or whoever's running the country. That's exactly what would happen. All right. Let's take some questions. I hear you. Would be better than McDaniels and Pierce. Yeah, it'd be better than McDaniels and Pierce. Mr. Took Your Soul. How many head coaching interviews did Rich Bisaccia get after we didn't hire him? He got a couple. And that is a metric that you can use, right? Like guys who get a lot of head coaching opportunity, interviews, that means there's more of a demand for him, sure, right? He wasn't going to be head coach anywhere else but the Raiders. That doesn't mean he couldn't be good for the Raiders. I wanted to say Rich Bisaccia was like really NFL head coaching material, except for the Raiders. Like he proved it. He absolutely proved it. He got that team to the playoffs through nothing but sheer will and loving them to the playoffs. A team that had Rich Gannon fired mid-season, got a wide receiver tragically kill somebody in a car, like just upheaval everywhere. And he got that team to the playoffs with that bad of a defense. I mean, that's worth something. That's worth another shot. It absolutely was. And clearly Josh McDaniels wasn't. Like, I don't know. I can't predict. I don't have a crystal ball if Rich Bisaccia was hired, if he would be successful or not. But I will guarantee you he would have been more successful and less expensive than Josh McDaniels. Mark Davis is currently paying 3 head coaches right now. John Gruden, Josh McDaniels, and the cheapest one of them, the actual head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders, Antonio Pierce. You are not a Raiders fan, you fucking idiot. Sounds airtight to me. Oh, there you go. Raiders fans are fucking idiots. Brady isn't running shit. He has 5% ownership. Yeah. That doesn't mean he can't run it. That doesn't mean he can't get in Mark Davis's ear, have Mark Davis wrapped around his finger, and then do whatever he says. Of course he can. You're telling me every single organization on planet Earth is exclusively run by majority ownership? It happens all the time. Someone gets into the shareholder meeting, makes a move, gets things going their way. Jerry Jones just owns one of 32 NFL teams, but he basically decides what happens in the NFL. He decides which teams get relocated, what rules pass. He has so much sway. Happens all the time. Happens all the time. Now, again, I'm not saying Tom Brady wants to tackle that. I'm not saying Tom Brady wants to, clock in the Raiders facility 7 a.m. every morning and not leave till 7 p.m. every night and wants to like tackle the job of fixing the Raiders, of turning everything. I'm not saying he's going to do that. Again, he's already broadcasting for Fox. Like he's got other jobs. He's got other things to do. I'm saying if he wants to, he can. He absolutely can if he wants to. Mr. Took Your Soul. I have to disagree with Mark Davis. He tried and spent a ton of money. He spent whatever the cap allowed. That's what we got to understand. Like, there's certain amounts of money in the NFL, and it's boring and it's not like fun to talk about, but it's easy to understand. But it's got to be understood. There's there's the salary cap, and I think it's like you have to spend like 85% of it, right? There's a certain amount of the cap you have to spend, and he always spends that because he has to. Like, there's the bare minimum. Like, it's in the Players Association agreement. Like, you have to spend a certain amount. It's like, oh wow, he's paid Davante so much. Oh, he paid this quarterback so he made Derek Carr the highest paid quarterback, for 45 minutes until the next guy got paid. Like, yeah, he has to. You have to spend money. But he's clearly more interested in his 11-ish million dollars than turning a conditional third into a second plus. I mean, what tells you he wants to spend money there? Like, this is the best example of if you want to spend money to improve your team, here's an easy way to do it. You have the money, you have the cap space. If you can say, "I'll pay off Davante Adams' salary," you've now opened up Davante Adams' trading possibilities to a lot more franchises who are in cap trouble. But Mark Davis said, "No, not gonna do it. I'd rather just sit on that $11 million." Now, I don't know if there's something going on behind the scenes where that just, maybe wasn't a smart move, but this organization hasn't earned the benefit of the doubt. Like, Mark Davis hasn't earned the benefit of the doubt. Like, I hate to say it, but if, like, the Chiefs or the Niners or like the Packers or like, you know, franchises with a history of being really well run, you know what I mean? You don't hear about crazy upheaval in Kansas City. The players are criminals, but you never hear about like crazy upheaval with some of these organizations. And if they make a move that makes me raise my eyebrow and say, like, that doesn't make any sense. Why did they do that? They did A when they should have done B. I'll say, well, I'm not saying what they're saying is right, but there's a good chance that there's just something going on behind the scenes I don't know about. And so they made the right decision. Like, there's a much better possibility of that. Mark Davis hasn't proved that at all. Mark Davis has not even kind of given us the benefit of the doubt. He has not earned it. The benefit of the doubt is earned, not given. And Mark Davis hasn't earned it. So I'm going to assume it was just a bad move. I'm not going to say I'm not going to assume there's some great mystery and some element to this discussion or conversation that means we couldn't pay off Davante Adams' salary. Like, that hasn't been earned. No. No, thank you. Not happening. So, having Aiden O'Connell as the starting quarterback apparently wasn't enough to keep Davante Adams around, and understandably so. I get it. Like, there was reports that Davante really liked Farva, and so he could have stuck around for him, but not happening. Jacoby Myers, we're going to depend on you. Trey Tucker, we're going to depend on you. Brock Bowers is going to be fed the rock. He's going to get like 13 targets a game, 13 to 15 targets a game without Davante Adams here, especially if Jacoby Myers' injury is going to be a while, especially if Michael Mayer is still AWOL or whatever. Like, he's going to be fed the rock, as he should. The guy's open every single play. Daniel Caps, since Mark Davis has taken over, there have been 8 head coaches in 13 years. Yeah. And there's been a ton of GMs. There's been a ton of bad moves. There's been a ton of poorly paid. Like, all right, Mark Davis did pay a lot for Josh McDaniels. Okay. It's like, all right, he tried something, right? Finally paid good money. But that was him being duped. He was duped into thinking that there was this really, really big market for Josh McDaniels services when there wasn't. There really wasn't. And we all found out why, right? But other than that, what has he done to prove that he's like gonna spend? That he's gonna like do whatever it takes to win. He hasn't done anything. All right, so we got to the Raiders' policy on trading players who say they don't want to be there. Mark Davis not paying the salary for picks doesn't make any sense. I've talked about how I thought the original trade was fine. Just because this didn't work out, that doesn't mean the trade was bad. The original trade, right? Getting Davante Adams for a first and a second, making him the highest paid wide receiver in football. I still don't think that's a bad move. I think Josh McDaniels was the bad move and just ruined it for everybody. Talked about Tom Brady. He could take this over if he wanted to. I just I just don't think so. Another thing, the Davante Adams. There's always some crazy trade rumor with the Raiders every single season. Every year it was Derek Carr. Is he going to be traded? Is he going to be traded? Is he going to be traded? Does John Gruden want to trade him? It never happened. He never did. There were rumors, nothing else. The Davante Adams trade rumors happened all last season. There was 0% chance of that happening just because of how his contract was settled. Like that cap hit would have been like $40 million to move on from him last season. So it was never going to happen. And I think Davante Adams knew that, which is why he was always talking about how, like, I don't want to leave. I want to stay here because he knew he wasn't going to go. Like Davante Adams is a lot of things. Dumb is not one of them. Davante Adams is not dumb. And he's weirdly principled. And so it wasn't until this season when he knew that it like financially and feasibly could happen that he started making moves to get traded and demanded his trade. So now that Davante Adams is gone and those trade rumors aren't going to go anywhere, watch. Mark my words. The Maxx Crosby trade rumors are going to be awful to listen to. It's going to happen. I'm not saying the trade's going to happen. I'm saying the rumors will spread about a Maxx Crosby trade. They shouldn't be listened to. There won't be any substance to it, but the rumors will happen. Watch. We're going to hear about it all season long, or up until the trade deadline and then into next offseason. Maxx Crosby trade rumors. The Raiders should tank. Maxx Crosby's dying on the vine over there. The Raiders need to start over. I feel like every other show I have to tell people this. And you guys know because you guys are loyal listeners. But I have to constantly tell people the Raiders aren't a tankable team. One, tanking requires a sign-off from the owner, which isn't going to happen. A sign-off from the coach, which isn't going to happen. Antonio Pierce has a 2-season contract. He can't afford to tank. He's got to win now if he wants to keep his job. And also, tanking means you have to have nothing but terrible players. Like, players don't tank. You can't half-ass football. You get hurt. And every single player on the Raiders is playing for something. Even if they even let's say hypothetically they've completely given up on this team, completely given up on the Raiders, completely given up on this season and don't want to win, they still need to produce on the field if they want to get paid in the next place. If they want to get a contract extension, if they're heading to free agency, they still got to be good if they want to get paid. Like the tanking just doesn't work. We don't have a team that's tankable. When you tank, that means you're getting rid of all of your expensive older players to try to get draft picks and be good in the next 2 seasons. Now that Davante Adams is gone, we don't have anybody like that. We don't have a single player on this roster that's expensive, over 30, and worth anything in a trade. Now that Davante Adams is gone, we don't have a single player like that. Colt Miller, we're not moving on from. That's a guy you want to have. He's not playing great this season because of his injury, but like that's a player you want to build around. Maxx Crosby, young, good player. That's a player you want to build around. All of our great draft picks of the last few years, right? Nate Hobbs and Malcolm Kuntz and Christian Wilkins signed a 4-year deal. If you tank, you still want to be good in 2 seasons. We're not the Saints. We're not the Rams. We're not saddled with a bunch of 33-year-old $20 million contracts. We don't have that. This isn't a tankable team. Now, we might just be so bad we're picking in the top 5 anyway. But that won't be because we tank. It's because we just sucked. And yeah, it really just all comes down to like we just need a quarterback. It starts and ends there. Got to have a quarterback. A good quality quarterback can cover up a lot of warts. And there's a handful of pretty promising young quarterbacks coming up next season. And hopefully all the really terrible teams that are drafting ahead of us are already kind of like in quarterback situations. We'll see how this starts to pan out. The Titans will probably go quarterback. It's just not working with their young guy. We've gone over this before. We'll go over it later, but it would have been really nice to have Davante Adams on this team to usher in a new quarterback next season. Like, imagine being a rookie quarterback and having Davante Adams to throw to. Would have been nice. Would have been very, very nice. But we're gonna have so much cap space, we can buy a younger Davante Adams, buy a better Davante Adams. So I'm not giving up. Like, look, there's reasons for optimism, right? We have all of our draft picks plus now a conditional third. It's gonna stay a third. It's not gonna be a second. We're gonna have like maybe $120 million in cap space next season. We're gonna have ammo to be able. Let's say let's say we're pick 8. We'll have enough cap ammo to trade up to 5, 3, whatever. Right? Like we'll have trade ammo to go get a guy. There's reasons for optimism in the future. This draft class looked great, like so far. Again, 6 games in, looking good. Brock Bowers is amazing. Jackson Powers Johnson's finally playing. DJ Glaze playing well. Like our second year players, most of them are playing pretty well, right? Michael Mayer, obviously the big miss. Tyree Wilson, the big miss, but a couple of those guys starting to produce a little bit. Next season could be pretty good. And, this season's not over. Let's give Aiden O'Connell some more experience. Let's let him play a lot, see what he's got going. We still got weapons on offense, guys. Jacoby Meyer, Brock Bowers. Looks like Madison is probably going to be our starting running back moving forward. We still got some weapons. The defense, when it's healthy, fires pretty good, right? You're never out of a game defensively with Maxx Crosby. We really got to get some takeaways, man. 2 takeaways in 6 games. You should have fumbles fall into your lap in that situation. Like you get turnovers that just like think of how many terrible quarterbacks there are in the NFL that throw just complete brain dead passes. Think of how many running backs they're just like fumble Ruski guys. They just drop the ball all the time. Like, yeah, it's like turnovers or takeaways need to be taken. That's why they're called takeaways, right? When offense, they call it a giveaway. Oh, we gave it away. Defense, you take it away. Like we need to be taking better. But we're also not even receiving the giving. There's no better example than on in the Steelers game when Justin Fields threw a lateral that was backwards. There were 3 Raiders around that ball and 1 Steeler. Guess who picked it up? The Steeler. All right, we'll take some questions and then we'll mosey on out of here. Frank Perez, we just need to get our quarterback like the kid from Georgia, Carson Beck. He played with Brock Bowers at Georgia. They have chemistry together. Yeah. There's probably, as of right now, there's probably 4-ish first round quarterbacks as of right now. We got to see which one we like the best. Telesco doesn't trade up. It's true. It's not in his MO. But he also got his quarterback and never really had to, right? I'm not really big on trading up either. But, we're just so quarterback desperate and we've got stuff that, and we've got the ability to. Patrick Graham is gone next year. Remember this was the conversation last season because the defense was playing so well despite not having a lot of players other than Maxx Crosby that were respected. And we were so worried that Patrick Graham, we called him being the head coach next season. The one good reason about, I do Steve Cofield's Las Vegas show every Monday. And last week we were talking about, hey, one problem that the Raiders don't have to worry about, having the coaching staff being poached. Patrick Graham's not gone next year. Where's he going to go? I think he sticks around. Dutch Master 710. We need to lose out, RJ. AP will get fired winning 7 games and missing out on a quarterback. Look, tanking is not happening. Get that out of your brain. Get that out of your mind. For all the reasons I've mentioned. Mark Davis doesn't want to. AP doesn't want to. We don't have a team that's tankable. We don't have a bunch of 30-year-old guys on expensive contracts that you move on from. We have a young team. Our core team are guys you want to keep. We're not tanking. Now, we might lose a lot because it's just, just how the season's going. We're not tanking. It's not. It isn't a tankable team. We did a whole video on it. You can check it. Now, if we lose a bunch and get a high draft pick, so be it. And also, like, I don't want all of my Sundays ruined. Like, I want to be able to talk shit to like my Charger coworkers. I want to be able to go into, Kansas City, win, and feel good. I'm still high from that Thursday night game against the Chargers last season. We put up 63 points. Like, that's still awesome to me. I don't want to trade those feelings of enjoying football for maybe we'll be a little higher up in the draft, and then maybe we'll select a quarterback, and then maybe that quarterback will work out. I don't want to trade all that for a lot of maybes. Now, again, like if we lose out and we get a high draft pick, great. Like, we make it work, awesome. It all worked out, right? The stars aligned and all worked out. But I don't want to wake up Sunday morning and saying, man, I hope the Rams put 50 on us. I don't want my season to go that way. It's week 6 just wrapped up. I don't want to do that. I don't think you guys want to do that either. All right. I think that's enough. The Davante Adams now is a Jet. Pending a physical, which seems to be a formality. We are getting a conditional 3rd-round pick. It could turn into a 2nd-round pick. Not going to happen. It's a 3rd-round pick. We can root for Davante Adams to hopefully be a Pro Bowler so it can turn into a 2nd-rounder, but I just don't think it's going to happen. I just don't think it's going to happen. So we'll enjoy our 3rd-round pick. We'll enjoy an extra $11 million that we don't need. It's not going to go anywhere. Great. But the Davante Adams saga, distraction, and time with the Raiders is over. He had an amazing first season with us, one of the best of his career, even with Aaron Rodgers, getting the ball a bunch of times, became an all-pro, played absolutely lights out in his first season. And then the stink of Josh McDaniels was just too much to handle. And he's gone. Now he's a Jet. And he went from a 2-4 dysfunctional franchise to another 2-4 dysfunctional franchise. Hope it works out for you, dog. All right, that's it. Anything else happens, any big news, I'll go live. So when we got the regular show, we'll record tomorrow, and then it'll come out on Thursday, except for you members. Members get access to it very early, get access on Wednesday night. So if you'd like to become a member, those are one of the benefits. Until then, knock on wood if you're with me. Hey, you made it to the end of our video. Great job. I know you want more. Go ahead and click the next video. And if you're feeling crazy, go ahead and subscribe.